want snow. We want to have too.
First up, I just wanted to let you fill you in on what pieces of paper were in front of you. There's a couple that I received from the community building development team about barrels and brew, and the other they're looking for maintenance workers that you're going to learn how to maintain the new trail that they're going to be building. So if you're interested in those, I just gave you those copies.
Where's this at, Linda?
Which one?
The barrels and brew. And they're showing parking in a tent. And
Oh, I think that's something
Oh,
else.
you're on to something else. You're on to Dave Ringler's thing.
That's, Dave came in this morning. He had forgotten to give me
This is what she was talking about.
the resolution and other paperwork that you have, the temporary use permit. That's for the brewery. We're having an event on April 2nd. It's all going to be contained within his parcel of property. So I didn't have him fill out applications that are Perry Streets. I had him just fill out the temporary use permit. And so we're going to ask that you amend the agenda tonight to include this.
Sure.
And then I did up the resolution this afternoon to go along with that. That's in front of you. And the other item is an email that I sent to the young gentleman that spoke last month, Eric, and asked him if he was going to be at this meeting and if he had any additional information to present. And he just emailed me back that he was unable to be here tonight, but he did leave one place where you could look up on the internet if you were looking for additional information. He's quite an interesting young man.
Welcome to the world of policy debate. He's a debater for Kennewood Hills. That's why he knew me. I judged him.
It looks like he's a member of the Youth Commission in Walker.
I'm not sure.
So that's good.
Again, welcome to the world. These are the children that come to policy debates.
Okay.
We had handed out a piece of paper about water rates, and she'll be talking to you later in the agenda about that.
And that we kind of knew was coming. I mean, this is the water rate thing is, it's what we expected. Yeah, it's not different from, it doesn't look different.
It's not as painful as it looks or we thought.
Mm-mm. That's what I was actually going to say. Last week, it actually, I mean, weren't we actually talking about more?
I can explain it at the time when we
Yeah.
talked about rural water came in for a couple of days and we went over everything and this is their recommendation.
Okay.
And I put 3 different scenarios there for if we want to do it over 3 years, if we want to do it over 2 years, 1 year. Those are the different scenarios that are on there. The bottom half is what the water bill would look like. What if the first line is current, and then, you know, if we did a third, a half, or just did it all this year and it's done. So those are the 3 scenarios. But I have more I can explain.
Okay.
And you'll get into that too when you have your budget workshop
Yeah.
at the end of the month.
Because, yeah, I just vaguely remember it being more. But I could be wrong.
I mean, we could do more. I mean, we could always do.
So I mean, I remember the estimate.
Yeah, but
Then
this
we
will
would need to
cover,
do more.
This will cover the new loan, and this will.
Okay.
Where we need to be. I mean, we can always do more if we want to do more improvements or put more
Right.
away. But this will cover what we need to cover with the new loan payment.
Okay. Excellent.
I have a brief question on that subject.
Mhm.
So, in raising water rates, if we were to, because I understand that the new rate will cover everything we need currently, what is the smallest increment we could go up above and beyond that? Would it be like a half cent per thousand, or what would be
You need for
the water bill? For the smallest amount we could raise the rate. I don't understand how the increments work. So, if we were to go above and beyond, because our system is from the 1930s, so that we, insulate ourselves from what we all know is coming, what is the smallest amount we could do?
Add to what we have now,
Well,
or this proposed?
On top of what's proposed, what would be like, does it have to be a penny? Is it a half penny?
A
Is it
penny is the minimum.
a penny?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like the last time, when we raised rates for this July, we had just gone a penny for, it was, the sewer, actual sewer per 1,000 gallons, we went from 466 to 467. That was just a penny.
Okay.
But now we're proposing to raise it more
Sure.
than that. Because at that time, we were raising them because we knew this project was coming.
Right.
And we said we would raise them again at this time this year.
Right.
And then now we know what we need to cover our costs.
So if we wanted to do this plus a little, like a
Go another
penny,
penny.
we could go another penny,
Absolutely.
or 2 pennies, or,
Yeah.
that would be the increment.
They show us a breakdown of what we can do, a third, a half, or a...
Right, well, that's to cover, she's giving us options to cover
What we need.
what we have for me,
Yeah.
not that would give us any extra for further maintenance.
Correct. Yep.
Just what we have. Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, the other, next item on the agenda is correspondence, and there isn't really anything new or different in there. Under unfinished business, first item was what Eric presented to you last month about the Citizens United versus the FEC. Just indicated for you to have a discussion. He's really looking for you to pass a resolution, but you probably need to understand a little bit more about it before you do a resolution.
Yeah, and I understand a lot about it. I mean, it's been a big debate thing, but I don't know that the rest of you know much about Citizens United or the Supreme Court decision or the implications of it. Molly, you might.
I'm nowhere near Stephen, and
Okay.
so.
Well, you're basically advocating that we pass a resolution that would support a constitutional amendment that would overturn Citizens United.
But,
Well, Citizens United was the Supreme Court, I won't go too much into the weeds, but it was the Supreme Court decision about a super PAC, Citizens United, versus the United States federal government, about whether or not companies can use money as free speech. Are corporations people when it comes to spending money? Because the Supreme Court previously has said that money is free speech, and that you can't stop people from having free speech by stopping them from spending money. So what they basically said is companies, which is where super PACs come from because they become corporations, have the same rights of free speech as people. That's what that decision in a nutshell, I mean, I could go more into detail on it and how they got there, but that's the premise of it. And as long as that's a Supreme Court precedent, Congress can pass laws all day about campaign finance, and they can't change it because the Supreme Court, that's their interpretation of the Constitution. So without a constitutional amendment, it can't be changed unless the Supreme Court changes its mind.
also, I believe we're a non-partisan unit of government, and we shouldn't pick sides.
Well, it's not a Democratic-Republican thing, it's a policy thing.
Well, either way.
And aside from that, what it boils down to is that anyone who has a lot of money can funnel their money into any particular
Corporation.
super PAC.
They do it now.
Yes,
Right,
they
that's
do.
what they're doing.
And they can funnel this into anyone's campaign to try to help them get elected. And what has historically happened is whoever has the most press coverage tends to win. So someone with a lot of money can disproportionately skew an election.
That's the argument against it. And what this young man was proposing, if he went to Robert Hewlin, who's our representative, and because you weren't here, Jerry, Robert Hewlin said, if my constituency organizational representatives, my townships, my cities, so on, agree that this should be a constitutional change, I will bring it forward. So he was asking for consensus, so this young man was going to, and I don't know where Solon weighed in and Sparta weighed in and so on, and we basically said we'd like another month to talk about it. And could you come back?
We're looking at the websites that are supporting the Supreme Court decision and those that are against it. There does seem to be a very clear line with Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. So while it is a Supreme Court
Yeah.
decision, it still is, the people that are choosing sides are definitely partisan.
Well, I think that always happens. Any
Well,
policy issue.
My position would be similar to Jerry's, since we are a nonpartisan body. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking a position either way and saying that we represent the community of Cedar Springs with that decision.
However, it is the job of government to take these kinds of positions, however your personal political leanings are.
And my point is that if we take a position either way, we are being partisan.
Well, but that, at some point, then we can't ever take a position on anything, because everything,
Not in a
I mean,
political sense, you're right.
Right,
We
I
should try
mean-
not to.
but if, like as an example, MML has just come and asked us to take a position on the gag order bill. Well, that also falls down part of the line. So,
Not as much as this, I don't
yeah, and
think
it kind of does, and it was put in by a Republican Congress and signed by a Republican governor, and they're advocating for it. Now, we as municipal governments don't feel it's in the best interest of our constituency, but the people who are advocating against it are more liberals and more Democrats.
Well, see, I'm not on the same page with you there, because I wrote to Mr. McEwen, and basically what he said, as long
But he
as,
voted for it.
he said as long as the body, the municipality, the school district, is getting a purely, I'm going to throw a word in, academic review of what the law will or won't do, the policy will or won't do that's being considered, then he's okay with it. But what they're trying to avoid are municipalities and groups saying, well, if you don't pass this, we're going to lose coverage in the police department, or we're going to have to fire firemen. These are the kinds of things that municipalities tend to do, even though they really shouldn't. They try to push the citizens into a direction. And that's what I understood him to say to me.
But he
They were
voted for
trying-
it.
I know. And so, he voted for what?
He voted for the gag order bill.
Yeah, but he
As
said
it's
that this
written.
is why. He said this is why they did it though, even though it's a bad law, even though it's poorly.
And he'll tell you it's a bad law.
That's right.
Okay.
But he voted for it.
Let's move on.
Anyway.
We will not end this one. Go ahead and finish this.
Well, that will be a lively discussion during the meeting.
Indeed.
The next item is a continued discussion on city properties on the tax roll. I'm assuming that Dan has some additional information that he wants to bring forward tonight.
I have a guest speaker coming in, Charlotte Kyander. She can't make it though until later in the evening, probably after 7:30. So if there's no problem with that with anybody, even though it's really old business, I would like to get to the end of the agenda, which would make it, I think, 9 each.
Maybe the meeting will be adjourned by then.
Well, I wondered about that.
At 7:30?
I said,
That was a record.
That would be amazing.
usually we go till about 8:30, but anyway,
That'd be the will of the council, whatever they.
yeah. So, yes, thank you.
I'd like
So-
to hear what she says.
So do we add that as, how do you want it, where do you want it?
Well, I
Thing
think
on-
the end would be the surest way to make sure she was able to get here.
So like, item
9 each.
9H, okay.
Let's just, and leave it there, and we can just intervene when she comes in and go back to it. How'd that be, instead of chalking up to?
That's fine.
That was
Everybody
gonna
agree
be
to
my
that?
suggestion as well.
Okay, then, when she comes in, we'll revert back to item B and unfinished.
I think that's.
So the next item, Marty's going to do a brief update on the antique fire truck.
Woohoo!
Rose was interested in that, so he's prepared to do that. I don't know if you want him to talk now or wait till the meeting, whatever.
Anything exciting?
Pretty standard for a meeting.
They're excited about making it look pretty, and they're working on it. They've acquired a couple different buildings, so they got more room. And like I mentioned before, I believe it was last fall, maybe it was winter, they're working on it in their leisure. And, I'm talking with Carl Schwab that he feels they would love to have it ready for the 4th of July parade in San Mike. But, pretty sure it's gonna be ready for Red Pine Lake.
Okay.
And having talked with a couple of the council members before the workshop, it was mentioned maybe that, the city employee, well, unwritten policy is that nobody drives it except the city employee.
Correct.
And it's always been under the
Fire department.
Do we need to
control
make,
of the fire
do we need to
department.
make that a written policy?
We could probably make it a written policy that's not to be driven by anybody other than a city employee. However, we're not gonna put any seats in the back like had been done several years ago. And we're gonna put it back to as much, as very, very close to original condition as it can be made.
Sure.
And more than willing to use it for parades and showpieces and picture taking and display and everything. Like I mentioned to a couple of the council members, I'm concerned about sticking that amount of money into it and having people crawl all over it during Red Pine Day as a Keystone Concert.
I
We are
understand.
too.
I'm with you.
I would be more than willing to have either myself or a member of the fire department lead the parade with the Grand Marshal on a continual basis. I have no issue with that. However, I have concern about liability issues with that, people standing on it and hanging on it.
We can't have that.
Yeah, no.
I would recommend, and if the rest of the council agrees, to have you, Marty, draw up a policy and a procedure of who drives it, mainly a city employee, a fireman, and possibly the manager could appoint someone to operate it if a fireman wasn't available.
Well, I'm sure with 24 people on board, we'll find somebody. However, I would question the council as to how soon they would like this, because I don't really want to dump a lot more on the interim city manager's plate.
Well, we have until
We have until
October.
next October.
So I will work on that during the summer and get with the new city manager and we'll adopt some policy of some form.
And how it's used.
Yep.
And then it can come, and we can all get
And
together.
then we vote on it, and then it's an actual thing.
Well, I'm not sure the political right way to go with this, but if we adopt the policy and everybody just nods their head and we'll go on
Yes.
with life.
Just as long as everybody's agreed. so
Yeah.
we-
Well, and again, we want it in writing, so like when you're gone and we're gone, no,
I told you, Mr. Conley, when I leave, it's my lady moment.
Well, while you're here, we'll have that official
I
policy.
have one question. Will she be able to pump water?
I haven't discussed that. We used it a couple of years ago with Tony Johnson, an ex-firefighter. He brought his casket from Patterson Funeral Home to Solon Cemetery in the back. That has been expressed by a couple of retired firefighters. They would like the same privilege. And I have instructed the restoration committee to put me in a removable tank because the box is not long enough to hold a standard casket. So we could pull the tank out, so I'm gonna say probably not.
The last I knew, and this was a long time ago, the pump was seized, and we had put oil in it, but it's probably, in all intents and purposes, ornament. The cost to rehab and refurbish that would be
I can't even
unreal. So,
imagine.
Well, and how much are you gonna get out of that? I mean, you may,
nostalgia.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but,
Well, it'll have the old hose reel and stuff
Everything will be
back on it. It
well,
will
sure,
look
for
authentic.
looks and such, but I can't imagine under any
No one's gonna put a
circumstances
fire
where
out.
you would need that to pump water.
Well, to
Antique display.
revert back and try to keep this as brief as possible, we can, that's why they had water buckets. We can do that.
And that was
Did I understand you to say that the Sand Lake Parade, 4th of July parade, would be used in the Sand Lake Parade?
If it's available, yes. I'd like to
What is
take,
the reason for that?
we have been participating in that parade for
years.
Ever.
30-plus years that I know of.
They trailer it.
What happens if someone is part of it, by chance?
We have been to Spartan, we have been to Rockford, we have been to Trupa, we have been to Greenville.
They trailer it there.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, they put it on a trailer and haul it there, and then it drives the mile or two in the freight.
Also that Burns Camp or something.
We did that when they held it at the Fifth Third Ballpark. We was down there for several years in a row.
I think it's great PR for the city.
The fire department.
Well, I mean, but
Thanks.
I think it's great PR for the city to have the fire department do that.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's wonderful.
You'd be surprised when you go to one of them events, how many pictures and stuff. I would dare hasten to guess upwards of 10,000 pictures that I've been in with that Model A.
I'm sure.
Yep, all that.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay, Mrs.
And
Christensen?
the next item will be an update on the wastewater treatment plant. Tom is going to do that tonight. I don't know if you want him to speak now or you want to wait till the meeting. I don't know that there's been any changes from last month, but he's
No,
here.
just the informational and stuff that's in your packet that we told you we would do. We'll keep you updated on what we're gonna
Okay, great.
tackle next, so all that information is in your packet.
Have they accomplished anything to date? But we can ask that there.
Yeah, we're starting to. They're starting to do some the VFD drives. Or the guys out there working on that.
All right.
That's exciting. I don't know what that does, but I'm excited about updating the water treatment plant. I clearly need to get out more, and is that what it is?
No, it's turning beer and wine into water. Go ahead, Mrs. Christian.
I don't know how I can finish that one up.
I could say more.
The next item would be, I'm asking you to waive policy 12 tonight to authorize the signing of the Nelson Township Fire Agreement. The agreement expires March 31st, so we want to get that in place.
Linda, I for one would be of a position that we would have to consider policy.
Because that's the thing we do every year, right?
We do it every year, so maybe.
I felt like we've
just
discussed
simplify.
this recently.
There's been lots of discussion, but I'm not really sure which direction to go, so I just put it in
Sure.
this way.
Sure.
Better to put it in there than not.
Okay.
But I do believe your policy said if it's a regular thing, you don't need to waive
Correct.
policy 12. So you can delete the waiving of policy 12 and just approve it. You know?
Okay, we would have to make that comment at the approval of the agenda to strike A from.
Yeah. Let's just, and make
just
1A.
Formality.
Yeah.
The next item is the Chamber of Commerce put together their events for the entire year.
Up to October.
Pardon?
Up through October.
October, I thought Mingle with Chris Kringle was number 2. Did you put that on there?
It's on.
No, we just go through the Halloween.
So we thought that would be a good way for you to, rather than them coming back for every
I
specific
think it's
item.
awesome.
that put them
Way
all
to be
together.
proactive, Chamber of Commerce. Woohoo!
And now that the election is over, the first thing on my agenda is to get that new community event application out there.
Awesome.
Good.
And this is the first reading, so you can have any questions, I'm sure Terry can answer them for you. And then Deb's going to do a little presentation on the estimated fund balance right now. That information is in your packet.
That was very informal. That was great information.
Yes.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you.
And then she's going to follow that up with the Michigan Rural Water and Sewer Rate Study, another stimulating topic of conversation.
Again, maybe it's because I'm from Flint, but this is important stuff. It's probably one of the most important things as the community we make sure happens. I mean,
They need good, clean water.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's right up there with making sure the police show up and the fire department shows up. Yeah, I mean, maybe even a little more. I mean, those are a big deal too, but if you can't drink,
You never hear about that until it doesn't work, unfortunately.
I mean, it's one of those things I think a lot of people just take for granted that it just happens.
When you turn the faucet and it's
And
supposed to come out.
it just comes on and when you flush, it just goes away.
Non-poisonous, and that's wonderful.
Just remember that when all these people come up and start complaining on ratings.
I will.
Oh, I'm more than happy to have that conversation.
I'm sighing already at my future bill, but it's okay. I understand it's necessary.
That's fine.
I have no problem with it.
Moving on.
Then, the next item is I put together a new agenda format and wanted to get your feedback on that and
Excellent.
possibly some changes you might want to put into that.
I think this is much clearer.
I think getting away from waiting policy 12 all the time is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, it'll save time.
Mhm.
More clarification there.
And then Dan has an item, is the next item on the agenda, discussion regarding the current and necessary protocols for council members and citizens to visit city facilities. And I'm sure you'll have some information that you
I
will
will,
be
and
presenting.
everybody, I hopefully receive the description of my journey and why I think that we should have something in writing that will clear everything for us as council members and for the staff in trying to know where our limits are and how we can fulfill also the comments in the charter that say that it is part of our job to do research, to do study,
What?
to inquire. So that's the part of it, if you did that.
Do we know of other municipalities, what their policies are for this? That might help. instead of
And I can do some
reinventing the wheel.
research with other municipalities.
That might be a good MML question.
True. Okay. Thank you. Next.
And the next item is from Mrs. Powell. She wants to have a discussion regarding city email use and Facebook.
I've been looking at different, on the MML website, for different policies for Facebook and what you're supposed to do on like our city website, our email system, and I'm sure it doesn't happen here, but it probably happens where people are playing games, and shopping, and doing stuff on that with their emails, city email, they shouldn't be doing. So there's policies about that, and also Perry and I have a huge difference of opinion of what should be on our Facebook page, our Cedar Springs Downtown Authority Facebook page, and how to create it, and doing some research on that also.
Does the city have a Facebook page?
The city don't, and that is what she's thinking the DDA page is a city page. It's
I
not-
see.
That's for the downtown development authority stuff.
So we don't have any
Okay.
say over that, just to clarify. Like DDA wouldn't be our
It's a
purview.
separate entity.
They're their own entity. Any more than if like the library had a Facebook page or the Chamber of Commerce had a Facebook page or.
But through my research, I found that most cities that have a DDA website, like we have, the city council has to vote to approve it, and they have to have some policy about what it should include and shouldn't include. So I'm just doing some research.
But are the other DDAs like formed through, like does the council appoint their board? Do they?
It goes, from what I've read, it is the council has to approve the DDA to have the Facebook page.
Okay, but doesn't the council in that case then create the DDA?
No.
No.
Well, then how does the council, I mean, I guess if they're their own entity, I don't understand how the council has authority to do that.
I don't either, that's why I'm looking into it.
I mean, any more than we could say to the school, well, you need our permission to have a Facebook page. They would
It's
say,
part of our
that's
city.
fascinating,
As part of our city.
but they're not part of our
DDA is
city.
set up, the council has the authority over the DDA.
Do we? Okay, that was my question, because I thought we didn't. I thought they were like the chamber. I thought they were like their own.
We appointed them.
They're appointed by you, but yet they have to answer to you.
So they're like the library without the Library Act that gives them independence?
I'm not quite sure I follow that.
Okay, we appoint the library board.
Yeah.
But the library, there's the library, Public Act of help me Dan, 74, 60,
The original one goes back to 1879,
right, but the one that says that libraries are autonomous.
1979.
Anyway,
And
there's
different forms of library.
there's the Public Act that says that libraries basically, even if they're created within a city charter, have a certain level of autonomy. Like, we can't mandate, like, what books they put in the library, or, like, there's just certain decisions that, based upon this public act, they run their own show. Like, we're allowed to give them money, we're allowed to support them, but we can't tell them what to do.
So
So
basically,
is the DDA different?
well, what it was is the DDA Facebook page, when Thad and I started that off, it was to put on the things that the DDA is doing.
Okay.
Not everything the community building development team is doing, everything the Red Flannel Fest is
Sure.
doing, not everything the library is doing.
That
That
makes
would be
sense
a
to me.
City of Cedar Springs Facebook
I
page.
would agree.
That would not be the Cedar Springs DDA page.
That makes sense to me.
Why aren't we including everything, every social, every activity that takes place in our DDA footprint?
Because it's not what they do. That's what he's trying to say.
And-
Well, that's why I'm researching it, because other DDA Facebook pages do include their festivities and their social activities in their DDA.
But there's another thing in it, other DDAs have money. Other DDAs have
Right.
a lot more.
Like, I was gonna say, the one in Rockford, don't they have like a dedicated half mil or something?
One at a time.
Hey, we got dedicated $1,100 and $500.
Right, I just know, but I just, for clarification, there's places that have like a
One at a
dedicated.
time, one at a time. We're talking over each other and we're not.
Well, no,
getting anywhere.
I'm just trying to ask a question. In other places, aren't there actually like dedicated villages to support the DDAs?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. And
This
like,
one, this one,
we don't have that, right?
this DDA does not, and it's just taken upon themselves. Who's gonna manage it? Who's gonna add and subtract or update it? I guess
Right.
that's the big question.
Yes, and like I told her at the DDA meeting, when she brought it up, all the stuff that she's went on there, I'm like, if somebody wants to run a City of Cedar Springs page, that's an excellent place for it. I do not have time to do that.
The DDA itself does not, so unless we
Yeah,
give them
I can
some money.
understand that, unless we were gonna give them money to support that.
Because as is, I pay somebody else to do my work that I'm supposed to do to promote my business. Somebody else, I'm paying them to do that, while I volunteer to promote all these different things.
And I was gonna say, the DDA is you're the head of the DDA, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
a president or whatever it's called. That's a completely voluntary position, right?
Correct.
Like, you don't get paid.
No.
I
So-
mean, right, but the time to maintain it isn't free. Like, that's the issue.
So we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Why don't you make a City of Cedar Springs page, and then you can put all that stuff on there?
Then we have to vote on it.
Honestly, I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
My only
But I
issue,
don't know.
I will vote for you to do that.
my only issue with the City of Cedar Springs page is just, again, having someone have time. And I don't know that our staff has time.
No. It would-
And I don't know that I have the time to commit to that.
And Hopkins volunteered, and I asked him if he needed help, and Sally says, I help him, so.
All right.
If
For
you
well,
don't
the
have time, you don't have
DDA
time.
stuff, yes, we are doing the DDA stuff. We're not doing the whole City of Cedar Springs stuff.
If I may,
Yeah, we're going nowhere, but go ahead.
just a last sum up, so we can hopefully move on. What it sounds to me is that Sally and Perry are trying very hard to manage the DDA and have their plates already quite full. So they're not going to be able to volunteer to do any more with that than they're already doing. If we want a city page, we can go down that avenue, but their page cannot be the city page. Have I captured it accurately? Okay.
All right, moving on. We will have to have some discussion on that. And in the interim, we can make a decision maybe at that time of what we might do as a council. How's that? Because the DDA currently does not have the staffing or the money to run a citywide event calendar
Facebook page, yeah.
for the city.
It's even more than a calendar. I mean, Facebook
All
is
right.
like, has to be monitored and,
All right, we got 10 minutes here to finish up.
The next item is your department reports, and I don't really have a whole lot. I was pretty involved with the election, so didn't get a lot of things done. But I did want to report too that we had a tremendous voter turnout on Tuesday. We had 27.5% of the registered voters vote, which was remarkable. I saw people that I've never seen before come through, and it was people, all sorts of people stopping here because they saw the vote here sign, and so they thought that's where they were supposed to vote. So I spent a lot of time running back and forth to tell them where they were supposed to be.
People who weren't registered,
Well, they were in different municipalities, but they see the vote here sign, so they think that's where they're supposed
you had,
to be.
you had someone who was not registered at all.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That means when we get our petitions now, we have to give a lot more signatures on 25.
Well, you definitely should get extra because people will sign petitions and they don't want to tell you that they're not registered.
But our charter actually sets the number.
Yes.
Not, we aren't based on a
That's
percentage.
a good deal, that
You need a
finally,
minimum of 25.
Yeah.
that's a good deal, 27%, that's almost unheard of.
I was here just after 9, and I was like 84 or 86, and like, I think I voted later in the day at the last one I was at.
I voted at 510 and I was voted 414.
Well, I know I usually on election day float back and forth between my office and here, and I spent the whole day in here, just trying to keep things going. We ran out of applications to vote, so I had to call the county when we were getting low, and they had people running all over the county delivering things that day.
That's what the news was saying.
And I just wanted to say props to Linda for guessing how many ballots we needed, because in Plainfield Township, they ran out. The city of Flint, they ran out.
They ran out a lot of places.
So,
And the county
I know, right?
The county actually will reproduce ballots for us. And so when I called to ask for applications to vote, I said, it's looking like we're going to have a really big turnout. When do you want to know if I need more ballots? And she said, well, if you even think that you're not going to need more ballots, let me know right now. So I told her I needed some more Republican ballots. So when they brought them, they brought me Democratic ballots.
Oh dear.
So then I called and said,
Pretend that they have different names.
thank you for the ballots, but I really need Republican ballots. So then they brought the Republican ballots, and luckily I didn't have to open either package, but I did need applications to vote. So it was,
Yeah,
the end of the night I had 20 ballots left.
20.
Not much scratch that.
That is not a lot of leeway.
Well, it sets the stage on what you're going to need for the ballots in November.
We'll order 100% of your registered voters for presidential
And
election.
I'm going to guess that in August.
Never happened to them.
That'll be another clerk's responsibility, honest.
There you go.
Have fun.
In that one.
You're gonna have to train them up good.
That's right. That's right. I'm waiting. I bailed too after seeing that.
I thought, I kept telling the ladies, this is my last election, and they didn't believe me. They think I'm going to be back. I wanted to let you know, I did talk to Kathy Grinzinger this week and asked her how many resumes have been turned in, and she said so far 15 have been turned in.
15?
15.
That's awesome.
But she hasn't looked at any of them yet. To match the profile and your characteristics that you're looking for. But she said, usually you get the most towards the end, and a lot of your candidates wait towards the end of when the rest
How many
of
days do we have left?
Until the 25th. But one thing we do have to do is get a date set to meet with her, and she's looking at the week of April 18th. So if you have the calendars with you,
We want to make sure we get these dates knocked down because there's 3 other municipalities vying for that.
The week of the 18th.
she said any day she is available except the 22nd of that.
April 18th?
And it's going to be a closed
So
session.
Monday's the 18th this week.
You'll convene into regular session, and then you will go immediately into closed session to review the resumes.
I could do either the 20th or the 21st if you need. That is a Wednesday or a Thursday that week.
I can do either of those days.
So see which the 20th or 21st is that she's available.
I have a meeting the 20th, the 21st I'm available.
Good.
And 21st.
I'll do it
21st
again.
would be about
What was it?
Thursday for me.
21?
April 21st?
Looks like 21 is the number.
Do we have a time?
I'll check with her. First, we need to find out if she's even available that night.
Yep.
So once I get the date set down, then we can put the time in.
What's the start?
What's that called again?
Pardon?
There'll be a special city council meeting.
Be a closed session meeting, review applications.
I'm just wondering if to put it on just right now.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be closed session.
I put it,
It will
well,
be
yes,
closed?
because they
Okay.
have the right to apply confidentially.
Right, but that's in the past, they just took their names off. We did it in an open session, but we just didn't have their names on.
Well, she requested closed, so
Okay.
we'll go on that.
Good enough.
She said it would at least be a 2-hour meeting, but she said with your council, maybe 3 hours.
Okay, well, that's probably fair.
She said we asked.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Okay. They're April 21, so mark it down unless we hear otherwise,
I got it.
from probably 6 till midnight.
And that's the end of my report. We'll just have department reports, and you can go through those during the meeting.
Good.
And also, just a general announcement for me. It has been told to me that I have a night class on March 28th. It is not optional, so unfortunately I will not be able to make the budget meeting. I sincerely apologize.
Oh, boy.
I get it.
Okay.
Excuse me. Yeah.
All the millions?
You don't have to apologize to us, that's the bill.
Blood from a stone, friend. I just,
You have to apologize to them, not us.
well, mea culpa. I
Totally understand.
All right, we got about 3 minutes. Potty break.
Potty break, stretch, move, wiggle.
Policy.